It's really reaching out above and beyond just sitting and learning from text. It's learning from examples or real life situations or how you can apply that in your future.
Active learning is all about engaging the students, connecting with them, and then having them go out and delivering whatever it is that they learn.
All of the active learning activities that I do in my classroom are meant to develop skills, communication skills. And these skills are really rated high in terms of what business wants in an employee. That's what they want us to be teaching.
In my PHP class for web development, where we had to put together a shopping cart so people could buy products on like a test site, and we had the assignment and we had to bring it home with us to do, and putting together the database for that was extremely challenging, mostly because we had no idea how to, we'd never done it before, and so doing it from scratch, that hands-on kind of thing, I remember that night because it was a very frustrating night, but it was very rewarding when we finally got it working and we got it finished, and it wasn't because someone just told us all the steps to do it, it was because we figured it out on our own.
Theater has a long history of creating a vast variety of games and exercises, activities meant to transform knowledge into action, to get students out of their head, in a sense, and into their bodies, to get the knowledge into the body.
Actually, a few of my professors use the Tegrity Online service. It's basically like a lecture before class, so when you get to class you already have the material and understand it, so you can apply it to whatever problems you're using or whatever formulas you need to get down. So it's a good way of inverting the classroom, so when you get there you can actually discuss and go over things with your professor instead of just listening to them talk and then realize when you get home to do the homework you don't really understand this portion of it.
The class, we were asked to go outside the classroom, and over the weekend you had to go and break a social norm. So such as going to the mall and staring up at the ceiling, just staring there for 5 minutes and seeing how people react. If they walk by you and look confused, or if they look up at the ceiling and see what you're looking at, just getting you out of that, that social behavior, that norm. It kind of gets you out of your comfort zone and definitely helps you to stand out, not necessarily in a good way, I guess, but it helps create the feeling that you can step out of your norm.
Well, when I see a student come out to our plant and they tell me they're part of electronics, or they are part of the instrument controls program or power plant or power process, they have this concept out of the workbook and out of all the videotapes of what this means to them. When they come out to our plant and they see this mile by mile square area of all the steam and the energy and the gas production or the electric production, they get the opportunity to actually understand what it means to put their hands on the same equipment that they're seeing in pictures. The more that we can do in industry to provide real world hardware to the campus, so the students coming out of the campus actually are familiar with what they're seeing when they come to our plants, that's the hands-on portion.
If the school has what's being used out in the field, up-to-date equipment, that means we're going to get guys that have already seen a lot of the things that we're working on out there.
We actually bring students in from class. We'll actually have them work with us. So they'll actually bring the students will actually get some of their credit for coming down to the shop for a couple weeks, and they worked, say, a morning or an afternoon with us. And that was really good because I saw kids then, they got used to the work environment. So just like when they walk into this room, it's not as intimidating. So it's not as intimidating. They can kind of see the flow of things in a work environment.
The type of evaluation that really motivated me was when it was sort of like a contest. I mean, when we used to design websites and things like that, we all secretly wanted to have the best looking website. And so that kind of motivated me to look at what my classmates are doing and try to sort of, I guess, one-up them, you could say. But it was cool when you got to see everybody else's work, and I think that, that may be kind of scary, but really, when you're in the marketplace, when you're at your job, you're gonna have competitors as well, and I don't think it's a bad thing to get used to that sort of experience.
I think it's a challenge for anyone to understand what is motivation, or how do I motivate myself. And again, I think it's when you seek an area or a department or a company or a task or something that you really enjoy to do, there's a natural drive and motivation there because you want to learn more about it.
I think the most important thing that I learned at BSC was how to basically find answers for myself, to educate myself. Not that my teachers weren't educating me, but that you need to take it upon yourself to be educated, to partake in that process and to make sure that it happens, that you get everything you want out of it. Group projects are the most challenging thing, I think, in college because they're not easy in real life either, but you always have people who maybe don't understand the value of what it is to work in a group and how absolutely necessary that is for pretty much any occupation you go into. I know that at my job, without my group, I wouldn't have a job. There wouldn't be a business, there would be no product. I mean, the group is really everything, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, that's how you get really amazing things accomplished, is through a group of people who are all working towards the same goal. And so if you can get used to that, you're gonna do great. And if you can get used to being in a group and maybe even leading them, maybe pushing them along a little bit, kind of encouraging them, kind of taking that leadership role, then you're really gonna be doing well once you get into the workplace.
So with a classroom environment, I think it's key that there's a lot of teamwork type of activities, because with the generation we have today, the millennials, they work very well together as teams. And I think giving them a project that they all have to do a part of, not just one person tends to take over and do the whole thing, but they each have to contribute a component to it, helps build that teamwork environment, which is very necessary in today's work world.
They need the hands-on skills, because nowadays there's so many, in my line of work, there's so many different types of tools too, that when they grab a wrench, they need to know this one takes a 14 metric, or this one takes a Torx bit. There's all different types of tools that we use. And if they don't even have a visual hands-on, they don't understand what it takes. So that's really important.
No matter where you are, no matter how old you are, there's always conflict. And so a lot of the conflict resolution skills are taught in the workplace and aren't necessarily taught in the classroom. So if there was real life situations where the situation happened, how would you best handle it? And so I think by working through those things, it really helps prep them for being successful in a workplace.
Communication skills are especially important to people in the workplace. So this gives hands-on doing experience to students that are transferable then to a variety of jobs.
Everybody learns by doing, so to be able to have hands-on in the class means they're going to be that much more prepared to be out in the field working with our company.
Certainly at the community college you have lots of different levels of students, and they come from all kinds of learning environments in high school and middle school. So you have the students that you've got to pull out of their little box, and as instructors we have to be flexible enough to deal with those different levels of learning. And you have to be aware of what's going on. You can't just engage those students who are ready to learn. You've got to also engage the students that are not so ready to learn, and that takes a little work.
There's not a lot that you can do as a professor to make the students learn, because it's not your job to make them learn, it's to help them learn. Basically the big thing is getting the students involved. So the more you can get in with assigning group activities, finding a way to make sure that they're doing the readings, which is the hardest part, is making sure everyone's prepared. That really helps the students.
It's said that we remember 10% of what we read, 20% of what we hear, 30% of what we see, but 70% of what we do and say. So the goal is to put the responsibility for applying knowledge on the student.
What I like the most is when you have that aha moment, when you say something and someone says, oh, I get it, I get what you're saying. So it's those little things that really, again, open the mind and gets you to think about how can I take this a step further, and just really grasping onto those unique things and then applying them to what you're learning.